People every day stepping into a certain niche because that niche is working right now, but it's just a matter of time until that gets oversaturated and it doesn't work anymore. So don't even build something in a niche that has the potential to be oversaturated. Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Rooted in the Cosmos, your podcast for all things spirituality, spiritual leadership, higher consciousness, and New Earth vision. My name is Isabelle Gloria, and I'm happy to welcome you to this brand new episode. Today, we're going to talk about a little bit more of a business topic. This episode will be really interesting and insightful for you if you are either already sharing content online or if you're feeling really, really called to step into this new part of your life and start sharing spiritual content online, and you just feel like a little bit lost with how to start and what to talk about, what your topics should be, like all these things that go through our head when we want to start expressing ourselves, basically. In business terms, we're talking about niching down versus not niching down when it comes to your content, meaning that we will look at the pros and cons of really limiting your topics and limiting the things that you are talking about online versus just sharing freely and sharing everything that comes to your mind. This topic comes up a lot in my clients. So when they initially start working with me, a lot of my clients come to me and they have all these amazing topics and they have all this knowledge and all these things that they are inspired by and that they want to share. And sometimes it's even so much, like they want to express so much that they end up not sharing anything because they don't know where to start. And then there's also a lot of imposter syndrome coming up because even though they are interested in so many things and they know so many things, they're not sure if they're in a position and knowledgeable enough to actually share about these topics and make it part of their business or part of their online community. So if you're in a similar position right now, if you feel like, okay, I definitely I am feeling called to share content online, but I really don't know where to start and what to say, this is for you. So this is perfect. I want to start by focusing on something else first because I feel like this aspect is often missing when you first start out creating your content. The first thing is your social media, when you really want to use it professionally, when you want to use it as a platform for your soul to be expressed and like as this extension of self-expression, your social media is not for your friends, it's not for your family. It's for the people who are meant to resonate with your message. So, in case you're worrying about what your family or your friends are going to say or anything like that, try to drop that and try to work on this limiting belief or on this resistance toward expressing yourself in front of family and friends because your social media is literally not for them. If you want to use it professionally, it is part of your mission, it is part of your business eventually, and it is not important what your friends or family are thinking about that. It is, you use it in a very different way than they might use it. So that is the first thing I want to like make you aware of, that you have to change your perspective on social media. If you're feeling called to share content online and to be this spiritual content creator, things will change on your profile. They will change, and they should change because you cannot have like a profile for family and friends and at the same time serve a lot of people by sharing your wisdom and sharing the gifts that you have to offer. So you really have to make a choice here and boldly step into this new direction. And I know that can be really, really scary, especially in the beginning when you have like no external proof or no external even validation from the outside that what you do is landing with people. But that is your initiation. That is what you have to do. You have to realize that your social media and the way you use it will be very, very different from how it may be now or from how it is compared to your friends. Once this is out of the way and you feel comfortable or you feel ready to step into this new timeline for yourself, The next thing I want you to think about is your target audience. Who are you talking to when you share your content, when you share a post? Are you talking specifically to men? Are you talking specifically to women? Are you talking to no matter gender? Are you talking to people who want to achieve a certain thing? What do they want? Why do they follow you? And what can they learn from you? What inspires them about you? These are the things that we would typically in a mentorship with me, we would go through in a very detailed and streamlined process, which I cannot do with you right now, but I can give you some like a red thread to make up your mind and to just get a little bit of direction when it comes to stepping into this content creator role. So before even thinking about what you want to talk about and what your content should be around, think about the people you want to connect with. Is there a specific group of people or like a type of person that you would love to connect with? And on the other hand, is there a group of people and a type of person that you would rather not connect with that deeply? Really add that in as a consideration when figuring out what type of content you want to create, because you want to make sure that you absolutely resonate with the people who are coming into your field and that you love having them around and that you love sharing your energy to other people. Social media can be really exposing and really like energetically exposing. You, of course, have control over what you share and how you share it, but energetically, it can feel really, really open and vulnerable. So an important thing is that you feel comfortable with the type of person you're calling in. That also leads to how you express yourself. So we're still not talking about topics, we're still not talking about niche. We're talking about how do you want to show up? Do you want to be the teacher? Do you want to be the big sister? Do you want to be the role model that just shares her life and is like just this inspiration person? There are so many different ways on how to approach things. And I'm not saying that you have to have one exact way of doing it. Like we are always a mixed type. I have some teacher aspects in the way I deliver my content. I also have some sisterhood vibes in it. So there is not like one thing, but you want to be aware of how you want to come across and how you want to create connection and community within your audience. If you're not feeling comfortable being like super personal and super up close with people, maybe don't position yourself as like this sister that is so approachable. Maybe position yourself more of like a distant teacher. And I'm not saying it cannot be open-hearted, like a teacher can completely be open-hearted. It doesn't mean that you have to distance yourself from people. It just means how they will perceive you and also how they will reach out and connect with you. So that is something to consider as well. Especially when it comes to spiritual content, I personally would also consider if there is like a style or a way of bringing things across that you don't resonate with. So for me personally, it is like the guru type of energy that I don't want to have in my content. I do share a lot of my wisdom. I do share from a very confident place. I know what I'm talking about, and I think that comes across. But I never want to feel like I'm on top, I'm on a pedestal, and I'm talking to people who don't know. You know what I mean? Like this type of energy I'm avoiding actively in my content. So whenever something, even if I don't mean it to sound like that, if something sounds or feels a little bit like I'm the guru and I'm talking to a group of people who don't know and I'm like not empowering them actively, I wouldn't want to post that because that is not my intention. I don't want to be like in this guru role. And my goal, my number one goal is to always empower people and to show them their own strength and power and activate that within them. Of course, they can learn from me and I can teach them something and I may be like, if you want to call it that, a little bit further ahead on the journey, but I never want to come across as if I'm the guru and those are just the people I'm like teaching. That's personally for me something that I am really aware of when it comes to creating my content. It should always be inspiring. It should always be empowering and evoke something within the people watching my content. So that as well is something that you have to consider. Is there something in the spiritual realm that you see in others, like a pattern or a certain way of how people can be perceived that you want to avoid? That is something you can actively avoid in the way you create your content and also what type of content you create. We're still not talking about the niche, but this is really important, and it's just some general things that I want to add in. Generally said, pleasing everyone will not give you a greater reach. So there is this theory that a lot of people have when they start with content creation, that they want to keep it pretty open. They want to keep it open for every gender, every type of person, every group of like people, and they don't want to limit who resonates with their content. What this does is that it more often than not makes you less interesting to people. So if I were to be a spiritual content account and I share just spiritual content for everyone, just generally like all the things spiritual for everyone, and I just throw it out there hoping that it lands with some people. And then on the other hand, compare that to a spiritual content account that posts specific content for a specific type of woman, let's say, who wants to be a conscious mother. And the content is around conscious femininity, conscious motherhood, conscious parenting, conscious pregnancy, like all these things. That is just a very good example of how different it can be. And you can even talk about the same things, like the general spiritual account can talk about conscious parenthood as well, or conscious parenting, but it will not stick with the people because they don't feel like this account is for them. So people who are actually interested in conscious parenting, they will go to a much smaller account, for example, that specifically talks about the topics that they are concerning themselves with. So you want to make sure that you find some type of red thread in your content, and it doesn't have to feel limiting. You can talk about all the things that you're passionate about, but it is a way of how you package them, how you talk to your audience and to the people who are meant to be touched by this. What that means is that you can have strong opinions, you have strong values, you have strong beliefs. You can state when something is not part of your belief system, if you see something differently than most other people in your realm of content. And that is good. That is something that makes you stand out and that makes you recognizable and unique. So even though we're not talking about niching down to just one thing, to just conscious parenting, to stay with the example, I'm talking about limiting it in a way that you think about, what is the type of person I want to attract? What are they concerning themselves with? And once you figure that out, once you figured out like your core topics for your content, you can build around that. You can always add in more that you're also interested in, as long as it is related to what you're talking about every day. But I wouldn't recommend keeping it super, super open for everyone, because usually that just doesn't stick with anyone. You're just throwing it against the wall and it doesn't stick because it's not specific enough. Not enough people feel specifically called to your content. What I do with my clients is that we find the core topics. So no matter how many interests they have, no matter how many ideas they have, I'm telling them, what are the things that you're actually most passionate about? What are the things that you could talk about for days? Like, what are those few things? And then create some core topics from that. So instead of saying, okay, I'm a manifestation account now, I can only talk about manifestation now, that would limit yourself very much and that would feel very limiting and very not self-expressive. So instead of doing that, find core topics from all the things that you are inspired by, that you want to talk about. And those you're most passionate about, those are your topics. Of course, they should be related with each other, so they should all be in the realm of the same over topic, but they don't necessarily have to be super close. So you could, for example, be a person who talks about manifestation and about money mindset, and at the same time talks about let's say, lucid dreaming and her spiritual experiences, or how she astral travels and teaches other people how to do that as well. So it doesn't have to be all the same. You can create your own unique little niche. The important thing is that once you've decided on those topics, that you repeat yourself. Repetition is not negative when it comes to content creation. Repetition is amazing. You should repeat yourself over and over and over again, and always talk about the same things looked at from different perspectives. So even though you're sharing the same message over and over and over again, it doesn't feel repetitive to your audience. It just feels reassuring because they follow you and they are in your community because they resonate with what you say. So the more they hear it and the more they see it from different angles and from different perspectives, the more it makes sense to them, and the more they feel seen in what you say. I'm taking my own content as an example. I'm assuming that you're following my content if you listen to my podcast. I'm talking about the cosmic self all the time. I'm talking about spiritual leadership all the time. I'm talking about stepping into your power as like a conscious leader all the time. Every podcast episode on this podcast is about this core topic. I want you to step into your power. I want you to rise as like a new earth leader, as a conscious leader who can actively change the world and help shape our reality. That's my main desire. That's what I want to bring across. So I'm talking about this all the time, but sometimes I'm looking at it from more of like a spiritual perspective. We're doing a cosmic deep dive. I explain a spiritual concept to you that you can use for your own like spiritual journey, and to understand yourself deeper, and to gain more trust in your abilities and in your spiritual aspects and all these things. Sometimes I talk about this in a very business way. Like today, I'm giving you tangible tips on how to step forward as a conscious leader. Sometimes I do a practice to make you experience something within you that also eventually helps you to step into your power. So the topic is always the same, and it's really, really streamlined and clear, but the angles are different. And that's what you can do. You can repeat yourself a lot and talk about the same thing over and over and over again, and make it an integral part of your content and build around that. So it is good that people recognize you for a certain thing that you always talk about, because that's how you become recognizable, and that is how people can remember you. In my Cosmic Wanderers mentorship program, I work on something that is called the I teach, I sell model with my clients. The idea around that is that basically you are a multidimensional being, and so are your potential clients. So when you have like this divine mission and this higher calling, I genuinely, with all my heart, believe that it should not be limited by the mind, because you have like all these things to share for a reason. So the I teach, I sell model helps you to figure out what is the thing that make you money, what is the thing that builds a business that you need to live here on earth and to be able to share your wisdom. What is the things that you teach and that you become known for? And what are the things that you just are, that you like to express about yourself? And that really helps my clients to find clarity and to distinguish between what is important and what is not important, what is within my niche, within my personal niche, and what is distracting from the things I actually want to share. Your audience and your community, as soon as you build like a little community or a big community or even a huge community, they are all multidimensional beings as well. And the main goal is that they want to follow you for who you are, but you cannot share everything about your life and still be recognizable for something specific. So you want to make sure that you find your core topics and build around that and still make that like the red thread in all of your content. Even though your community wants to connect with you as a whole and not with like just one specific thing about you, they can still only learn from you if you repeat yourself, if you have a strong brand and a strong self-expression, and they can expect certain things from you. So they go to your page or to your profile and they know what they can expect. It doesn't mean that you cannot share personal things about yourself, or that you cannot go a little bit astray with your content. Sometimes you can definitely do that, but my number one tip is to create this hype around your core topics. From a business perspective, you definitely need that red thread that we're working out in the I am, I teach, I sell model in a very, very specific way, in a much deeper way that we could ever do here on the podcast episode. But yeah, basically you need a red thread, and you need the right strategy and the right amount of content of the I am, I teach, and I sell category for it to all make sense on social media and for it to attract the right people into your field. So when my clients use the I am, I teach, I sell model, they are building their mission. They are building something that they're feeling called to as a brand and as a business. And it's not just a tiny fraction of their mission. It's more flexible than that. If you have a higher calling, you're definitely not just meant to talk about one spiritual topic all your life. You're definitely meant to step into like this leadership position and create this own magical niche for yourself. So I do believe in niching down, but I don't believe in stepping into niches that are already there, that already exist. You definitely, in my opinion, like this is what we're working with in my mentorship. We are creating our own niches, and we are creating something that hasn't happened before, something that is unique and that is recognizable in people. I want to share with you one last example of a long-term client of mine. She is a jeweler, and she creates beautiful, sustainable gold and silver jewelry that is activated. So it's activated jewelry. It's a very specific process that she uses. She calls in the guides of the customer. She calls in her own guides. She creates the piece with intention. Like there's so much detail and so much magic going into the creation process, and every step is intentional so that this energy is really stored in this piece of jewelry. But like, yeah, it's dreamy, amazing. But the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because she started out just sharing about her jewelry and just sharing about like very much the jeweler side of things, and she left out the spiritual side a little bit. And when we started working on her brand and on her business together, we worked out a way for her to combine the two things. So what she ended up with is an amazing business identity that is so unique and allows her to talk about all the things about spirituality that she is passionate about and that she can help others with. And at the same time, she branded herself as this activatress who does all this activation with the jewelry, and who does activation meditations and activation practices. And she's fully stepped into this activatress mode on a much deeper and much spiritual level, as if she only were to share the jewelry. I'm not saying it's like only the jewelry in quotation marks. The jewelry is amazing, but what makes her successful in connecting with people and what draws people into her field is that she also began to share about her spiritual experiences and to share about what it means to be an activatress and what it means to activate jewelry and what it means for her to be in this activating energy in her everyday life, because that's what she lives by, like going to the beach and activating in the ocean, and like that's her way of living her spirituality, and that is very attractive to people. And while working with her on her brand, we did not decide to niche down and to go more into like the jewelry direction. We decided that it's time to step into her full power and even extend her content a lot. And the jewelry is still a centerpiece of her content, but there is so much built around that even the people who don't even know what activated jewelry is and who are not even there for the jewelry in the first place, they will come to her page and to her content, and they will feel drawn to her energy and then find the jewelry through that. So we built this beautiful buffer zone for people to experience and to connect with what she's actually offering. So in business terms, the jewelry that she sells is the I sell aspect of the I am, I teach, I sell model, and everything around that, everything that draws people in and that magnetizes customer into her field is the I teach aspect that she also shares. So she teaches about activation, spirituality, different jewels, different crystals, all these things, sustainability when it comes to jewelry making, everything that's important to her and that is part of like her core topics. And if you were to do that with the mind rather than following your mission, we would have tried to niche down as much as possible so that her jewelry gets seen. But that was not the end goal. The end goal was for her to step into her divine mission so that it all aligns and that it feels like this portal has been opened that calls people in for what she came here to do. I think that is a beautiful example of how things can go. And it can be so different. Like your content could be completely, or is probably completely different than what I've just shared about, like this beautiful client that I have. But in the end, it's all about creating your own niche. I don't believe in squeezing yourself into a niche that already exists. So many people do that every day. Like there's 1,000 people, if not like millions probably, people every day stepping into a certain niche because that niche is working right now. But it's just a matter of time until that gets oversaturated and it doesn't work anymore. So don't even build something in a niche that has the potential to be oversaturated. If you create your own thing, if you create your own world, which is what we do in my mentorship and in the work that I do with my clients, there is no competition. There is no oversaturation because you're creating your own world and your own magic, and you are fully stepping in something that is not just something that we make up with our minds and that we follow a strategy with. It's a divine mission, and we take the energy and translate that into a tangible business and into a strategy that works specifically for you and not just for the theoretical person that niches down so much that she only talks about 3 things. I really hope that was valuable for you and that you maybe even sat down, took some notes, and get into action now. If you want my support with this, and if you really want to take it a step further and have all the support you would ever need on this journey, I'm inviting you to apply for the Cosmic Wonders mentorship. The next round is starting this spring. Applications aren't officially open yet, but you can definitely reach out to me and we can talk about the process or talk about if this even is the right fit for you. So definitely reach out to me if you're feeling called to really make 2024 and this summer the summer that changes everything and that makes you step onto this new timeline for yourself. I am so hyped to help you do that. You have no idea how inspired and how activated I feel by the success my clients are experiencing. There's literally nothing better out there than supporting them and seeing them grow and seeing them grow their businesses and create this lifestyle for themselves that they want to create. And yeah, it's just beautiful. So if you feel like you are one of them and we have to work together, listen to that calling and reach out to me. That being said, I'm wishing you a wonderful, wonderful week. Tune in for next week's episode. And until then, have a beautiful time.